Section 7 of Who Was Who. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org.
Who Was Who? By Irwin L. Gordon. Section 7. J.K.L. J. Jack, the man who kept company with Jill. Occupation, water carrier. Killed while at work. Ambition, an artesian well in the valley. See Jill.
Jacob, birthright speculator, traveler, son of Isaac and brother of Esau. Was mother's pet. Became proficient as a character impersonator, but never went on the stage. Left home suddenly, slept on a stone and had hard dreams. Later married and was responsible for Joseph and his brethren. See Joe.
Jaeger, Dr. Gustav, claimed his underwear kept him warm.
James, Jesse, an American Westerner who murdered, stole, and appeared in paper novels for the benefit of the messenger boy, the author, and the publisher.
James, King, a Scotchman who was considered good enough to be elected King of England.
Janus, H., manufacturer of a popular beverage.
Japheth, third officer of the Ark.
Jefferson, Joe, a fine old memory.
Jeffries, James J., formerly a prize fighter who carried his gloves and bluff once too often to the ring. C. Johnson.
Jekyll, doctor, a physician who took a dose of his own medicine.
Jew, wandering, an ancient Hebrew who has been going over the face of the earth for centuries, only stopping at the call of such men as Eugene Sue and Lew Wallace.
Jill, Jack's girl. She was assisting her fiancé when the accident occurred.
Job, prehistoric millionaire who had his ups and downs. Like all rich men, he had a good young manhood, saved his money, and entered the market. Formed the Camel Trust and cornered the real estate market. The market tumbled, and so did Job. Family troubles also distressed him. His camels died of the colic or were stolen. Job went broke. Even in hard luck, he patronized the temple and believed while there was money, it could be had. Started in business again with a small capital, remarried, and ended his days ahead of the game. Ambition, a chance at the New York stock market. Death to his comforters. Recreation, sackcloth and ashes.
Johnson, John, called Jack, one-time black champion prize-fighter of the world, who learned that too much chicken, automobile, and champagne made even a colored gentleman a wazer.
Johnson, Samuel, no relation of the above. Employed the greatest press agent the world has ever seen, and was thus made famous. Also wrote.
Jonah, traveler, whaler, and lucky dog. Became renowned for taking a rough trip to sea, was thrown overboard because he was the Jonah, swam until he was tired, and finally made a morsel for a fish. Tradition has it that Jonah was tough and indigestible. He remained 3 days and 3 nights in the interior of the whale, causing the animal considerable annoyance when he exercised. Was later mal-demared, swam ashore, and thanked his lucky stars for his indigestibility and the illness of his rescuer. His story was published. Still causes some comment. Tradition also says that Jonah never could look a fish in the face after the harrowing incident. Ambition, dry land. Recreation, mountain climbing. Address, Sodom. Clubs, Alpine.
Jonathan, a man who loved King David more than a successor.
Jones, John, made a fortune for Europe by inventing the picture postcard.
Jones, John Paul, an American admiral who scared England and was only prevented from capturing London by the unimportance of the place.
Joseph, a Hebrew-Egyptian politician, born in Judea. When a young man he became his father's favorite, while his brethren had to do the heavy work. Wore a loud coat. This aroused the ire of his brethren, resulting in Joe being sold as a slave, and in the coat being sent to the cleaners. Jay journeyed to Egypt, where he refused to elope with the Pharaohess. Her husband, the Pharaoh, out of gratitude, put Jay in prison and afterward made him the royal butler. Years passed. A famine occurred in Judea. Joe's brethren came down to Egypt to lay in provisions. There they were confronted by the coatless Joe, who thanked them for the good luck they had thrust upon him.
Josephine, only one of that great multitude of women who carried a heart which was broken by the ambitions of a man.
Judas, suicide.
Judy, Mrs. Punch, but usually unconventionally called by her first name. She suffered considerable annoyance at the hands of her husband, although she frequently henpecked him. Went on the puppet stage for a few hundred years, displaying her domestic infelicity.
Juliet, a celebrated sweetheart who permitted her lover to make love on a balcony. Her history was written by one Shakespeare, and had a splendid sale. See Romeo.
Jupiter, boss of the ancient gods, father of most of them, and a regular Frenchman. Ambition, to run everything. Recreation, killing giants, disguising himself as a swan, etc. Address, Olympia.
Justice, only a mythological creature whose statue has been frequently erected. She had eye trouble. In the United States, Jay carried scales with a small statue of politics in one pan and money in the other. Her statues in other countries are said to be different, although occasionally the little statues are found in the pans.
K. Kaiser, T-H-E. Alias, Emperor William, Bill to his friends. A German of some prominence who caused heart failure in Europe, considerable comment in England, and much applause in his own country. Was also a naval constructor, born of royal parents. Inherited his father's position. At a tender age, he formed a passion for an army. Like all royal children, he had his own way. His plaything has grown steadily, is in fine condition, but is only used for parading and scaring purposes. His later years were spent in making additions to the fleet, but for what purposes even the wisest sages could not guess. Kaiser was also honored by a visit from Teddy Roosevelt. See The Wonder, on his exhibition through Europe. It is said he could not learn anything from his advisor. Heir, the Crown Prince. Ambition. His army applied to the Socialists. Recreation, Army. Address, Army. Clubs, Army.
Keeley, doctor, water wagon manufacturer. Claimed fame solely on account of the invention which prevented men from going home to a scolding without the assistance of lamp-posts. Declared his cure was good as gold. Was strongly opposed by John Barleycorn and his friends. Never cared for New York, London, or Paris. Kay's end has never been made public. Historians are endeavoring to ascertain whether he practised what he preached. Ambition, large breweries. Recreation, getting away from business. Address, all large cities. Clubs, WCTU.
Khayyam, Omar, a fine old Persian who wrote a beautiful and heartfelt commentary on headache producers. Ambition, more grapes. Recreation, a flask, books, and a Persian thou. Epitaph, he certainly practised what he preached.
Kidd, Captain, the man who spent his life burying the treasure which several people have been sure they could locate, was said to have been one of the finest men who ever scuttled a ship.
Killer, Jack the Giant, a man who combined his name and accomplishments.
Kipling, Rudyard, an English writer who has not been knighted.
Knox, John of Edinburgh. He was the man who introduced the Kirk into Scotland, but failed to launch the collection plate.
Kruger, Paul, a Dutch cleanser who originally made England scrub up.
Kubelik, Jan, the only violinist who never gave a farewell concert.
L. Lachaise, pear.